Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Rock Video Rental. I am Brandon. With me, as always, is Caleb, and we are continuing on with Awesomely Bad January, and we're going to be talking about one of the most infamous box office bombs of the 80s and Howard the Duck. But before we get to that, Caleb, you watch anything good lately?
Quack, quack. Um, he never did quack in the movie.
No, he didn't.
That's a weird thing I just realized. I did actually watch something this time, so shocker, go me. Um, my wife and I watched Wicked. So
Rock.
I know how much you love musicals,
Yeah,
and so I highly recommend it for you, Brandon. Yeah, check it out because
I've seen
it's
part of it. We
yeah.
tried to watch it with my daughter, and she kept complaining that it was boring, so we turned it off.
Ha, nice.
My wife saw it in the theater, so
Yeah. No, it's pretty good. I mean, I like musicals. I know you don't, but I don't know. It was executed well. Not really anything that I would expect to probably watch again. It was rather interesting because I don't know. You know how you try to find topics to discuss with your significant other,
yeah.
and so my wife saw it with a friend at some point, and so at some period in the next couple following days, we were just hanging out, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I never asked you, how the movie was." So since I was kind of anticipating not ever really seeing it or not seeing it for some time, she broke it down for me quite a bit. And she did a good job of describing it, but there was a part that she described to me about like some of the key points that happened in the movie, and when she told me about it, I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." But then I watched it, and the way that they executed it, I was just like, I turned to her and I gave her a weird look. I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, you made it make sense, but the way they're doing it doesn't make sense. So I'm not going to spoil anything, because I know so many of our listeners are the biggest musical movie buffs because that's what we
Huge
cover.
Ariana Grande fans.
Because that's what we cover the most on here. Because we have so many. What man? Actually, I'm trying to think. Have we ever covered? Rocky. Did we do anything outside of Rocker Horror Picture Show?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But
Because I usually make the schedule.
and you're like no. But
No,
yeah.
yours are gone.
So it's. I mean, it was good. It was entertaining. But that's pretty much it for me.
Rock. Um, I watched some of the Office Superfan episodes.
Rock.
Um, watched some wrestling stuff here and there.
Wrestling.
Yeah. I watched the Lions choke in their playoff game and wanted to crawl into a hole and cry.
We weren't supposed to talk
Um,
about
yeah,
that.
it was worth mentioning.
And then you right after that you were forced to watch Ohio State win.
I did not watch that.
Oh, well,
So I wasn't
screw
going to
you.
subject myself to those two things within a couple days of themselves. But yeah. Um, I watched the show Your Honor. That's got Bryan Cranston in it.
Okay.
He's like a judge. And but the whole plot of it is like his son accidentally hits a kid on a motorcycle with his car. And he's like having an asthma attack and he reaches for his inhaler. And when he looks up, the motorcycle's like flying towards him because he went across the line and hits him. And the kid dies. And Bryan Cranston's son just like panics and takes off. And
Mhm.
it ends up being like the son of like a mafia boss.
Ugh.
Yeah, and like Bryan Cranston's this judge, and they it's basically just them trying to cover it up and cover their tracks and everything.
Hmm.
And it's just like it's one of those shows. It's like, how are they going to get out of this? Kind of similar to Breaking Bad.
I was just gonna say, so
Yeah,
so it's Breaking Bad.
yeah, pretty much. Like it's a Showtime show, so it's pretty. You get lots of blood and everything, and like interesting situations and stuff like that. So it's on Netflix, so go check it out. There's 2 seasons of it. I still got to get through season 2, but season 1 was pretty good.
Rock.
But and other than that, just random YouTube stuff. Like I've been listening to like crime stuff while I'm working, so that's really about it. But I did watch Howard the Duck, and man, I guess since I watched that turd, we better talk about it. Howard the Duck. It is from 1986 and is directed by Willard Huyck. That's my guess.
Pookie?
I've seen that name before, but I don't know how to pronounce it, so probably got it wrong. The plot is a sarcastic humanoid duck is pulled from his home world to Earth, where he must stop an alien invasion and help of a nerdy scientist and a struggling female rock singer. The cast, we got Leah Thompson as Beverly, Jeffrey Jones as Dr. Walter Jennings, Ed Gale, and about 16 other people as Howard, and Tim Robbins as Phil Blumpert. Um, what in the heck was Tim Robbins doing in this movie?
I have no idea.
Oh my gosh, this movie's horrible.
Well, this was before he hadn't broken out yet at this point, had he?
No. Um, really the only other thing from this time that I saw him in was Fraternity Vacation.
Okay.
Um, it's your typical college student sex comedy. That was from 1985, and it was a lot better than this movie.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't take much.
No, not really. I mean, at least that was funny. And it didn't have an annoying duck that was creepy looking. I think I've tried to watch this movie one other time, and I think I only got part of the way through it and stopped because I definitely don't remember all the ridiculousness that happens in this movie.
Yeah, it's it's the ridiculousness that actually kind of I don't want to use such a strong word as this, but I don't know what else to say at this point. Saves this movie. Like I guess it saves it from being an absolute disaster. Like it's a disaster. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. But the ridiculousness saves it from being an absolute disaster because it moves it from being a bad movie to being to fitting more in the category of awesomely bad.
Yeah,
Um
memorably bad.
yeah,
Infamously bad.
maybe.
Yeah. Um, I really feel like this movie should have been a sign to show that George Lucas can't make anything good outside of Star Wars and things he did with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah, at least that's how I feel. Anything else? I mean, outside of the original 3 Star Wars,
Right.
because those prequels weren't really that great. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure who greenlit this movie.
Yeah, I don't it's such a weird thing. Oh, okay, and maybe I didn't look this up. Um I was kind of hoping to, but I didn't get around to it. Um is this a Marvel movie?
Yes, it is.
How like that makes it all the more messed up because I mean I had heard briefly in passing or something, I don't know, whatever, that it was in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how did this happen and why? And why the heck is Howard the Duck in the Marvel universe in the first place?
I don't know. I can't really speak on that. Um, I'm just wondering, was the world really clamoring for a Howard the Duck movie?
Right? I mean, I feel like there's a possibility that this is one of those things that was an obscure and it's kind of like, oh, I want to bring this to life so that the world can know about it.
The
Like,
world must know who Howard the Duck is.
yeah, because it'll make it more well known and people will appreciate it and everything. But it's n- I don't know, man. Like it the Marvel that you have nowadays is so watered down from comic books to if you take Deadpool out, so watered down from the comic books to be for everyone.
Hmm.
Like you could take your 6-year-old kid, you could go watch the Marvel movies, and for this to be, I'm sure there were some other Marvel things like some of those ancient superhero movies, but like one of the greenlit programs to explore the Marvel universe, like there's nothing about, like, first of all, who cares about Howard the Duck, like you said, but second of all, like this is not a family friendly movie or anything of that nature. Like they were making it even more niche than it needed to be. Like first of all, it's like, okay, you need to be into really weird comic book stuff that, is not super mainstream media. And then it's like super, super niche because it's not even the cool superheroes. We're talking about Howard the Duck. And then on top
Yeah.
of that, it's going to be centered and geared towards adults because there will be adult content. So even the kids who might find it kind of interesting, kind of funny, this is not meant for you. So we're like, man, they just like were making their target audience smaller and smaller every step of the way.
Yeah, who was the audience for this movie?
I probably like the 5 guys who had read Howard the Duck at the time.
George Lucas?
George Lucas, and he had 4 friends, and they're like, "We should have this movie made," and then they never talked to anybody else to see if it was a good idea.
And it's like, oh man, this guy just made Star Wars, and so
So let's
we'll
have
just
a movie
greenlight it.
about a duck.
Yeah,
That's like Star Wars.
yeah, let's just go for it. Well, I can start off by saying that I felt really bad for Howard. Do you know why? Dude gets pulled from his home planet, and he has to go to Ohio.
And they made him wear Ohio State stuff.
Oh God, yeah, and it's just like I got another jab at Ohio, but I feel like we need to get to that part in the movie first. Uh, Also, it was raining almost the entire time, which my family always had a joke that anytime we would go to Ohio or through Ohio, it would rain.
Nice.
So that just kind of made me laugh. It's like it's always raining in Ohio. Ah, so the whole scene of him getting like ripped from his planet, we get to see in a humanoid duck with boobs.
Right after he was looking at, what was it, Play Duck, or like some kind of
Yeah.
knockoff version of Playboy?
Yes, I said duck boobs is something I'll never forget, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that set the tone. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like they started out with that. That wasn't like, oh, we're gonna like ease people into this. It's just like, nope, we're going weird right from the get go.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, we're going unfamily friendly.
Yeah,
Because, yeah, they weren't holding back on those.
I'm sure that there was at least some instances where some parent took their kid to go see this movie, and that happened in the first scenes, and they're like covering their eyes in the movie
Yeah, it
because
was
of.
rated PG too.
Oh man, it
Not even
was.
PG-13.
Oh dang, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
How irresponsible. I need to
Where do you get off?
I need to make a complaint. How
Hey,
dare they
Karen.
make a movie like that?
Uh, so the plot in this movie is really bizarre. So he gets like pulled into the earth and he crash lands in Cleveland. And then like he becomes friends with Leah Thompson, who is a rock singer. And I feel like she's very miscast in this movie. And like I like Leah
Yeah.
Thompson. I usually enjoy her in the things that she's in. And like, props to her, she could actually somewhat sing. The music she was singing was, or songs that she was singing were horrible, but like she didn't sound awful, but she just doesn't fit the style of character that they were going for.
hmm
She usually plays like these prim and proper
Girl Next Door.
girl next door types, like we think like Marty McFly's mom and the character she played in All the Right Moves and Some Kind of Wonderful, where it's just like I don't know, she doesn't seem to fit this like rock singer from the 80s with big hair
hmm
playing a guitar. It just does not fit her at all.
No, it was not believable, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Tim Robbins as a goofy, dorky scientist was more believable, even
Yeah.
though his performance was not his best in this one, that's for sure.
No, it was definitely not good. To believe you could go from that to Shawshank Redemption in like what, 8 years?
Right. I I b- I think Howard the Duck was more believable to be real than Leah Thompson as a rock star.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the Howard suit looked decent, other times it looked really bad.
Oh man, yeah.
Uh, Sometimes it looked like a sock puppet. There's a part towards the end where they show him talking, like from a side shot, and it looks awful. The beak is just like flapping. Like, this does not look realistic at all. I mean, now it would be all CGI, and I mean, at least it was practical effects. Who knows? But he was creepy as crap.
hmm
Those weird eyes, and yeah. It was obvious that it was like a little person in the suit, and it made me think of Elf, except creepy. And this is someone who loved Elf as a kid, but I have a stuffed elf, and I showed my daughter, and she thought it was creepy. So maybe it's just in the 80s and early 90s we didn't think Elf was creepy, but kids now would be like, "What is that?"
Dude, we had a lot of creepy things when we were kids growing up.
This is true. Uh, so yeah, Howard, creepy as crap. Kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I don't really get the sarcastic thing that it said in the plot. Like, I guess he was a little sarcastic. He was more just like annoying and kind of a jerk at times.
You know what I kind of feel like they were hoping to get from Howard was a personality closer to, but not exactly like Deadpool.
Yeah.
Just not like obnoxious, over the top, super cocky, and quick witted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what they accomplished really at all.
But they get that if Ryan Reynolds played Howard.
It definitely, I think it would have made it better.
Probably.
He did play Pikachu.
This is true. Oh man. Yeah, so other than the duck looking like crap and the poor guy having to be in Ohio, um the music is awful in this movie.
Oh yeah.
The Not even just the soundtrack, not even just Leah Thompson. It's like all of it together. The score itself,
Well,
just bad.
at one point, it sounded like they were totally knocking off Indiana Jones, the Indiana Jones theme at one point when he was fighting off some guys. I can't remember if it was the manager and um the at the concert or if it was the guys in the alley, but it totally had Indiana Jones theme vibe, and it totally didn't fit in
Yeah.
my opinion, but that sounded better than most of the other stuff that was in this movie.
Yeah. It was not great. Um, the one good casting was Jeffrey Jones as the villain because that guy's a piece of crap.
I find it funny. Um, Jeffrey Jones, he's fun. Um, but yeah, he totally fits a villain type. But while watching it, I was thinking about how easily interchangeable I think that he could have been in movie roles with Paul Gleason.
Okay.
Like, I just feel in quite a few cases that you could have interchanged those two actors and they would have done accomplished close to the same material.
Yeah, I could see that. Um, yeah, I mean,
And
it's
Paul
kind of
and Paul
funny that he did
Gleason,
this and he did Ferris Bueller in the same year.
yeah.
Uh, Needless to say, Ferris Bueller was a better movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jeffrey Jones in real life, kind of a piece of crap. If you don't know anything about it, look it up. I'm not gonna get into it,
Yeah,
but
I'm not too surprised to hear that, but
yeah, he seems kind of skeevy. But I just said, and what was bad is like, how much cocaine were they on when they made this crap?
oh dude, I don't know, like
Flying
so much of
high.
it. I mean, so he shows up, he's in Ohio. He protects Leah Thompson. She houses him for the night. The next day, they go try to get help from Tim Robbins. Tim Robbins really doesn't know what he's doing, but then they just fight and separate.
Yeah,
And like, I
for
don't know.
reasons.
Yeah, for reasons. And then Howard tries to get a job.
Yeah,
And like, it's so dumb that they try to pass it off that like some people don't recognize that he's a duck.
right.
And it's
He's
like,
just like a duck that's the size of Danny DeVito.
right.
That's who they could have had played Howard. Uh,
That would be pretty
but
entertaining.
yeah, like no one seems to notice this. It's not a huge deal. I mean,
Hmm.
most people be freaking out, I'd have to guess. Um, or think it's a costume like that one waitress did.
Yeah, that's more understandable, which I mean, it was a costume and so it looked like a costume.
Yeah,
But yeah, like he tried getting a job, which was dumb. And like, I mean, it was just filler basically at that point.
yeah, pretty much. Um, they could have cut back like 20 minutes of this movie at least.
Yeah.
There was times where I'm like, my God, this movie is still going.
Dude, I fell asleep.
Yeah,
I,
especially towards the end, like it just kept
the,
dragging on.
the car chase or the airplane chase or whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that could have been cut out.
That's when I fell asleep because it was going so long and I was just like sitting there like, oh my
That
gosh.
ultralight plane or whatever it was, and he's flying with Tim Robbins, and I was just thinking to myself, laughing, like this movie is so ridiculous and so bad that like I find myself drifting off during it,
Hmm.
and I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if someone spliced this together with the escape scene from uh Shawshank Redemption? They'd be like, this is Andy Dufresne escaping Shawshank with Howard the Duck in that plane.
That's funny.
Oh gosh. Um, yeah, no one's freaking out over a duck being human size and walking around.
Hmm.
Ugh. And talking. Um,
Yeah. But I mean, so while we were kind of reviewing stuff on what could be cut out, I mean, he goes through that. He goes back to the concert place, beats up the manager and the guys, reconnects with Leah Thompson.
she takes him home.
Yeah. And then the
And it gets really awkward because she
worst,
strips down
worst part of the movie.
and she's like in small underwear and like this silky top. And then like she calls him into bed with her and
Yeah.
like it's I just put um she's half naked. I don't like where this is going. And then I just said, what am I watching? And it's like she realizes that ducks have corkscrew dongs, right?
Well, I was just like, I really just want this to stop. Like I was putting that in my notes, and then all of a sudden Tim Robbins showed up with Jeffrey Jones and the other guy, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh, thank God they're stopping this. Uh, and I was like, ah, the real pervert of the movie, Jeffrey Jones, shows up. Then I was like, this movie got worse somehow. They're dealing with laser stuff.
Yeah.
And then we get like these stupid jokes and like one-liners and stuff in it where, Howard when he first meets Beverly and he sticks up for her, he's like, no more Mr. Nice Duck. And I'm like, ugh,
Oh, yeah.
we get it, he's a duck. And then a little bit later, Leah Thompson says, book 'em, ducko. And I'm like, I want to shoot myself.
Yeah. It was
I don't
horrible.
want to live anymore. And then all of a sudden, Jeffrey Jones is possessed and says that he's an overlord. And then he says to Howard, I am from a realm of demons or something like that. And Howard replies, is that a suburb of Cleveland? And I said, yeah, it's Columbus.
Nice. Yeah. Well, the whole thing after the explosion is just like really dumb and weird because they escape with Jeffrey Jones's character who's possessed, but he's possessed by the Overlord or whatever. So we'll
Mhm.
call him the Overlord character. The Overlord character chooses to go with them, but he knows that he has to go back. There was no reason for him to leave. Except for unless maybe because he wasn't powerful enough yet. But the
Yeah.
really weird and dumb thing was when they went to the diner or whatever, the sushi remix fusion restaurant or whatever it was. Oh, did I
Yeah.
write that? It was such a weird name. I thought I wrote down Joe Roma's Cajun Sushi. There you go. That's what it was. Um, but there, the Dark Overlord like helps them because
Yeah.
they were about to be like taken hostage by the people there because they got weirded out by Howard the Duck and that whole thing, and then the Overlord decided to help them, and then he kidnapped Leah Thompson to go back to the laser. It just that
It was really
not
convoluted.
yeah, not a lot of this movie made sense, but that part definitely did not make sense.
No, not at all. And then something happens with the laser, and then Jeffrey Jones isn't possessed anymore, but now there's like this huge creature that looks like the Rancor from Jedi,
Yeah.
except it looks like crap.
I said it
And
looked like
and it
some.
sounds like Jabba the Hutt.
I said it looked like something out of Men in Black.
Yeah, except worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like if the Rancor from Jabba's palace was in Men in Black, but also had Jabba's voice. Where they say something when he's like, oh, ma, nipple pinchy.
Oh, nice drop there.
Yeah. Oh. And then they kill the monster, and Howard saves the day, and now it's like Leah Thompson's still doing her crappy music, but now she's great because Howard's writing the songs. And what's the first song she plays is a song called Howard the Duck.
Yeah, because everybody knows that song, apparently.
Yeah, and he's dancing around all happy, and then he plays a keyboard thing, and at the end she says, you were great, Ducky. And I'm like, God, stop calling him Ducky.
Howard the Duck. Yeah.
This movie is fun. But yeah, this movie deserves all the notorious hate that it had, and yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. No, it has a little bit of rewatchability. Like I feel like it would be a better rewatchable, awesomely bad movie with other people. Like there are certain awesomely bad movies that you could watch anytime with yourself, with friends, or by yourself, and you will enjoy it. This is one that I saw it, didn't really enjoy it so much, but I feel like I could watch it again with friends. It kind of almost makes me feel like the first time I saw Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
I watched it by myself and I was like, what the heck am I actually watching? But then when I talked about it with my friends who had also seen it, we were talking about it and we were saying about how dumb it was, but then we started laughing about it. And then we watched it again as a group sometime later and we cracked up about it because we
Yeah.
were laughing at it. That's kind of how this is, I feel like. Like if you watch it by yourself, you're really not gonna have a good time. If you have friends with
Yeah.
you and you can crack jokes at it and everything, it can be entertaining.
I mean, Borat's kind of the same way,
Yeah, yeah.
but I also feel like Borat's kind of funny too by if you're watching it by yourself. But yeah, Napoleon Dynamite was definitely a good comparison. Um, yeah, I could see being with a group of friends and laughing at this and making fun of it, but when you're like watching it by yourself, it's a little painful.
It makes
Oh,
you feel sad about
yeah.
yourself. Like, why
You,
am I watching this?
yes. I actually had notes like that. It was just writing down my thoughts at one point where it's just like, I love the podcast, but is it really worth having to watch movies like this? Like, who makes the schedule? And I looked at and I thought about it. I'm like, oh, I did.
It'd be so funny if we tried to do like, I mean, well, I never would. I would never agree to this, but if we did a month of like 30 days of just the 30 worst movies we've ever had to review, like we would be like keeping notes and everything, and we'd be wanting to kill ourselves halfway through the month.
I think if I got about 15 minutes into Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I might walk into traffic.
Gosh, that's a good question on what the worst movies that we've reviewed. Oh man.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few. Um, Trivia and facts?
Trivia facts.
Okay. So, according to reports at the time of the movie's release, George Lucas had just built the $50 million Skywalker Ranch complex and was counting on this film to get him back into the black. When it bombed, he was forced to start selling off assets to stay afloat. His friend Steve Jobs, CEO of Apple Computers, offered to help by buying Lucasfilm's newly launched CGI animation division for a price well above market value. Lucas and Dire Straits, and thankful for assistance, agreed. That division eventually became Pixar.
Hmm.
So yeah, thank you, Howard the Duck, for Toy Story,
Hey, I guess, yeah, I guess something good came from this.
right? Because no telling what crap George Lucas would have spit out. In a Twitter comment, Leah Thompson confirmed that she still has the Les Paul guitar Cherry Bomb and sometimes still plays it.
Hmm.
Following a test screening, Universal executives Sid Sheinberg and Frank Price were allegedly arguing about who was to blame for greenlighting this movie, which ended in a fistfight.
Oh, nice. That's a good one.
Yeah. So Leah Thompson actually did the singing for all the songs of her character's band, um, as did the other actresses in the group. In the 2009 DVD, she states that even during filming, the studio had not made a final decision as whether to keep her singing voice or dub her.
Huh.
So for her 80s style look, Leah Thompson had to have her hair styled for about 2 hours each day. She
Gosh.
admitted later that she was not very happy about the treatment and would have just worn a wig instead.
Ugh.
So George Lucas spent $2 million just on Howard the Duck's suit, and 8 different actors worked inside the costume. According to the DVD release, a child actor was intended to be the main Howard, but it didn't work out. Another actor, Ed Gale, ended up performing most of the major scenes as Howard, earning a credit at the start of the film.
Gotcha.
So in July 2021, actor Chip Zien, who voiced Howard, revealed in an interview that The Hollywood Reporter for its 35th anniversary that Robin Williams was originally cast for the role, but Williams quit after only a week out of frustration over syncing his voice to the Duck's animatronic Bill. An
Oh,
actor to voice Howard had not been cast yet during filming, so all of Howard's lines were read on set by the puppeteers, and the bill moved to fit their bland delivery. That made it impossible for Williams to use his wild improvisational skill um, in post production because it didn't work with the bill movements.
mm.
The producers immediately called Zine, who had previously auditioned, and told him that he had the part, but he needed to fly to California that night. So, this is a second consecutive financial failure for the director, whose previous film, Best Defense, was also a flop. The failure of this film killed off his directing career for good, and he never made another film after this one.
Oh no.
So the original Marvel comics of Howard the Duck were similar to the style of Deadpool, with
Oh,
an adult-oriented humor.
well, there you go.
It was significantly toned down for the film to make it appeal to younger audiences.
What? What?
It's
Where
still, yeah,
where were
there
they
was
coming off that
there
this
was too
would
many sex jokes.
dude play duck and duck boobs in the first 5 minutes?
And she finds that little duck condom in his wallet.
What the heck? And then he works in a at a hot tub whatever spa kind of place.
Yeah,
Where were
yeah.
they getting off that this was going to be more
It's like
family
a
friendly?
brothel.
What the heck?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I am my mind is blown right now. Like I no way.
Yep, I
Wow.
don't get it either. So John Cusack and Martin Short auditioned for the voice of Howard. This is the film debut of Holly Robinson Pete. Jay Leno was up for the role of Phil Blumpert,
Hmm.
which is interesting. And the last thing I got is this movie cost $37 million and it made 16 in the box office.
Ugh.
Yeah. Also watching this movie, I was reminded of an episode of The Goldbergs where Adam is super excited to see Howard the Duck in theater
Okay.
because he's a huge Star Wars nerd and Indiana Jones. And he goes with his grandpa to see it and he's like so disappointed and he like can't come to grips with not liking a movie that George Lucas made. I feel like it's in one of the later seasons. I don't know, when that show was kind of going downhill. But yeah, that's what it made me think of. I think they talk about the duck boobs in it too. I mean, that's kind of a memorable part of this movie
Yeah.
for good or bad, either way. But grades, IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think they are?
IMDb 3.9.
It is a 4.7.
What?
I feel like
Trash.
that's a little high.
I definitely feel like that's a little high. What was the last movie that was below 4.7? On. Do.
Zapped?
Jaws 3D was 3.7. Zapped was 4.9.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
I would rather watch Zapped than this.
I would agree with that actually. Okay, Rotten Tomato critic, let's give it a 29%.
It's a big old whopping 13.
Oh snap. Oh
Yeah.
dang. Now Zapped was that's pretty close with Zapped was.
Wasn't
Zapped
Zapped like a 9 or something?
was 7, so
Uh,
Rotten Tomato audience 25%.
38.
Oh, okay.
It does have a slight cult following, so I can
Yeah.
kind of see that. You want to go first?
Oh, sure. Man, not good. We're not setting up for good things here. There is nothing really good to take away from this movie. Um, It's missing any good entertainment factor or value. It's inconsistent. Its plot is sloppy, and they don't even know who they were making this movie for. Like that
Yeah.
little factoid thing there at the end, just like they had no idea what they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing. This was trash. So dang, I think I am going to give this a 1 out of 5.
Rock. I am in the same boat. I can't remember the last time I gave a movie a 1 out of 5, but this definitely deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, the tone is way off. Like, who was this made for? I feel like we had a movie not too long ago that we were talking about how it seems to be geared towards kids, but the humor is not kid friendly.
Oh
I can't
yeah.
remember what movie that was now. It
Hmm.
was one of them we did last year, but yeah, this would be in the same boat as that. And yeah, just miscasted people. Howard was annoying and creepy, and Tim Robbins, like, what are you doing in this movie?
He was getting
Like I
all the
said, that
bad crap
fraternity
out.
vacation movie was a an arguably bad movie, but it was entertaining, and he was good in it. His character was like funny, and uh, his acting was pretty decent in it. And then he got this like, ugh, he's acting like a bumbling idiot, and it just doesn't fit. But I mean, at least he bounced back pretty well after this.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think a 1 out of 5 is more than generous.
It just does not have like it's it this fit I feel like this one kind of fits a little bit more into awesomely bad than Zapped did.
Yeah.
Just because Zapped I just feel like was not a good completed movie. Like they needed more work on it. They needed to do some more with it. This one fits more into awesomely bad because even though it doesn't have much of the awesome factor, like just the level of bad takes it to a different space, like where you can just sit there and make fun of it and realize like this was just a bad idea and they did a terrible job with it.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I mean, because the demand was so high for a Howard the Duck movie. I mean,
Yeah.
gosh. I think I read that this was the last Marvel movie. At, well, this and The Punisher from 1989 with Dolph Lundgren. Those were the last Marvel movies until, like,
Blade.
yeah,
Probably, yeah.
probably. So, yeah, for good reason. So, we're going to be wrapping up Awesomely Bad January. Next week, we're going to be talking about one of the all time most notoriously bad movies, and a lot of people consider the worst movie, and I think it's been called the worst movie ever plenty of times by a director who was a real character and considered one of the worst directors ever. And that's Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's been a while since I've seen it, so it'd be interesting to go back to that one. I know this one has quite a few funny moments in it, like inadvertent humor, so it'll be an easier watch than Howard the Duck. But if you guys are liking the show, please subscribe and share. You can follow us on social media. We're on pretty much every platform. Um, TikTok's still around, so you can follow that.
Yeah, if you didn't delete the app yet.
It was gone for not even a day,
20 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours.
something like that. I don't know. But yeah, we also have a YouTube as well, so check those out. Come by next time. We're going to be talking about Plan 9 from Outer Space. And until then, as always, be kind and rewind.